My name is Emma, and this is the story of how the person I trusted the most, my best friend, built a secret plan behind my back, a plan so twisted and cruel that it almost destroyed everything I had. But what he didn't expect was that the moment I exposed him, everything he tried to do flipped right back on him. I'm telling this in my own voice because no one understands my pain, my shock, and my anger better than me. If you're listening right now, you're hearing the truth straight from me, not some rumor or twisted version made to make him look innocent. No. This is my story. And it starts long before I discovered the betrayal. I met Ryan 8 years ago. We were both young, ambitious, and honestly, a little stupid. He was charming, funny, and had that type of smile that made people believe he would never hurt anyone. I believed it too, for a very long time. We became best friends fast. He was the person I called when I was sad, the one I shared my dreams with, and the one who said he'd always protect me. I trusted him more than I ever trusted my own family. People always told me, "Emma, you're too soft," and I guess they were right, because the person I defended the most was the same person planning my downfall. But back then I didn't see it. Back then I thought Ryan was the only person in my life who genuinely cared about me. I didn't know he was keeping secrets. I didn't know he was watching me, studying me, waiting for the perfect moment to use my weaknesses against me. The first crack in our friendship appeared the day I got promoted at work. I still remember his expression, not excitement, not pride, just something dark behind his smile. At the time I ignored it. I thought maybe I was imagining things. But the truth was, that moment was the beginning of everything, the beginning of his jealousy. I got promoted to team leader at my company, a job I had worked years for. I remember calling Ryan immediately, bursting with excitement, telling him everything. And he said, "Wow, Emma, that's great. I mean, you finally got something big." Those words didn't feel right. "Finally?" I asked. "What does that mean?" Nothing at all," he said with a shrug. But it wasn't nothing. Later I realized that was the moment he decided I didn't deserve success. For months after that, small things started happening. Rumors about me at work. Private conversations leaked. People treating me differently. At first I blamed stress. I blamed myself. I blamed fate. Never once did I imagine my best friend would be the snake behind all of it. Until the night everything changed. I was at Ryan's apartment because he said he needed help with something urgent. He sounded nervous on the phone, so I went. When I arrived, he wasn't there yet. He had left the door unlocked for me. I walked in and the living room was a mess, papers everywhere, his laptop open on the table, screens full of messages and documents. I didn't touch anything at first. But then I saw my own name in bold letters on the screen. My heart dropped. I stepped closer and read the top of the document. Plan to replace Emma, step by step. At first I thought it was a joke. A stupid prank. Something he was going to show me and laugh about. But when I scrolled, I felt sick. Every line, every step, every word, it was all about me. How to make people lose trust in me. How to spread rumors without being traced. How to make me emotionally unstable so I'd quit my promotion voluntarily. He had written it all like some crazy strategy guide, and the worst part? Some steps were already checked off. Create tension between Emma and co-workers. Checked. Make Emma doubt herself. Checked. Turn her boss against her slowly. Checked. Become the hero by helping her when she breaks. Not checked yet. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely breathe. My vision blurred. The betrayal didn't just hurt, it broke something inside me. Because this wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake. It was a plan. A carefully designed, psychologically twisted plan from the very person I trusted the most. And then, I heard footsteps outside the apartment door. Ryan walked in, smiling at first until he saw my face. Until he saw the laptop in front of me. His smile disappeared instantly. "Emma. I can explain," he said, panic rising in his voice. I stood up slowly. "Explain what, Ryan?" "That you've been destroying my life behind my back. That you're jealous of me. That you planned all this like some psychopath." He froze. His mouth opened but no sound came out. I wasn't supposed to find the file. That was obvious. And the moment he realized I had read everything, he changed. His expression hardened. His charm vanished. And for the first time in 8 years I saw the real Ryan. Cold, calculated, ready to do whatever it took to stay ahead of me. He stepped closer. "Emma, you weren't supposed to see that," he whispered. Not sorry. Not guilty. Just angry that his plan had been interrupted. "Why, Ryan?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Why would you do this to me?" His answer still haunts me. "Because you don't deserve what you have. And I do." That was the moment I knew this wasn't just betrayal. This was war. And I wasn't going to let him win. Not anymore. Because if he had a plan, I was about to create one too. And mine would destroy him the way he tried to destroy me. That night was the beginning. The moment I uncovered the truth. The moment everything changed. And the moment his secret plan began to fall apart. All because I exposed him. The moment Ryan said those words, "because you don't deserve what you have," something inside me shifted. I felt my fear melt away and turn into something sharper, harder, something like fire. I realized he wasn't just jealous. He was sick with envy. I stepped back from him, keeping my eyes on his hands, watching for any sudden move. The man I once called my best friend now stood in front of me like a stranger with dangerous intentions. "You planned to ruin my life just to feel superior," I said, my voice low but steady. "All because I worked hard and you didn't." His jaw tightened. "I worked hard too, Emma. I just didn't get lucky like you." Lucky. That word felt like a slap. He thought everything I earned, every late night, every sacrifice, every moment of self-doubt, was just luck. That was the moment I knew he wasn't just jealous. He had rewritten our entire friendship in his mind. I closed the laptop slowly and stood my ground. "Ryan, this ends tonight," I whispered. His eyes flashed. "No, it doesn't. You're not going to ruin everything I built." "Everything you built?" I laughed, a cold, broken laugh. "You mean the lies? The manipulation? The sabotage?" He stepped closer again, and this time I could see the anger twisting his features. "You were supposed to break down," he hissed. "You were supposed to come to me for help. That's how the plan was supposed to end." Hearing that ripped through me. He wanted me weak. He wanted me destroyed just so he could be the hero who saved me. That wasn't friendship. That was obsession. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door, but he moved fast and blocked my way. His eyes were wild. "Where do you think you're going? Home," I said calmly. "I'm done with you." "No," he snapped. "No, Emma, you can't leave like this. You're overreacting. We can fix this." Fix this. The insanity of his words made my skin crawl. "Move," I said firmly. "Now." He stared at me for a long moment, his nostrils flaring, his hands shaking. I could see the war inside him. Control versus panic. Finally he stepped aside, but not because he respected me. No. He stepped aside because he thought he still had power. He thought I would stay quiet. He thought I would be too scared or too emotional to fight back. He was wrong. I walked out of his apartment into the cold night air, my heart pounding like a drum. I didn't cry. I didn't breathe. I didn't collapse. I just walked, fast, determined, furious. As soon as I reached my car, I sat inside and locked the doors. Only then did the first tear fall. Not because I was weak, but because 8 years of trust had just shattered like glass. And the pieces were cutting into me. I wiped my face, took a deep breath and said the words out loud, "I'm going to expose you, Ryan." Those words were not a promise. They were a declaration of war. By the next morning I had a plan. A better one. A smarter one. A deadlier one than his. I started by gathering evidence. I knew I had to be careful. Ryan was dangerous, not physically maybe, but psychologically. He was manipulative. He was strategic. And he was willing to hurt me to get what he wanted. So I mirrored his behavior. I became silent. Observant. Calculating. At work I pretended nothing was wrong. I acted confused when co-workers whispered about me. I acted hurt when my boss avoided eye contact. I acted like Ryan expected me to act, weak, shaken, vulnerable. He thought he was winning. But in reality I was collecting proof of everything he had done. Every rumor. Every message. Every suspicious leak. And because he believed his plan was still alive, he kept slipping. He kept making mistakes. The first piece of evidence I found was a chat log he thought he had deleted. A message sent from an anonymous account to one of my coworkers saying I was unstable and unfit for leadership. The writing style? His. The timing. At the exact moment he knew I was in a meeting. I saved it. The second piece was a voice recording. Ryan had accidentally but dialed me weeks earlier while he was talking to someone else. In the recording, his voice was clear. Emma doesn't even deserve that promotion. I'm going to make sure she ruins it herself. I saved that too. Then came the third and most powerful evidence. A folder in his cloud storage titled Strategy. Hidden but not deleted. I found it because he always used predictable passwords. Inside were screenshots, fake conversations he created, edited photos that made me look unprofessional, even a falsified complaint letter drafted but not yet sent. It was monstrous. It was insane. But it was also perfect. Not perfect for him. Perfect for me. Because now I had everything. But exposing him immediately wouldn't be satisfying. It wouldn't make him feel what I felt. I wanted him to taste fear. To feel the panic of losing control. To watch his own world crumble the way he tried to crumble mine. So I started small. Subtle. Psychological. The next time I saw him I acted like nothing was wrong. "Hey Ryan," I said with a small smile. "Can we talk later? There are things I want to discuss." His face softened instantly. He thought I was breaking. He thought the plan was working again. "Of course," he said gently. "Anytime." Inside I wanted to scream. But I remained calm. Sweet. Innocent. Because I wanted him comfortable. I wanted him relaxed. I wanted him unprepared for the storm I was about to unleash. That night I sent him a message. Just one sentence. "I know more than you think." No explanation. No context. No details. And then, nothing. I didn't reply for hours. I didn't pick up his calls. I didn't open his door when he came knocking. I let him stew in fear. Nervousness. Paranoia. Because that was the beginning of my revenge. Not exposing him. Not confronting him. But making him question everything. Making him fear what I knew. Making him wonder how much power I had. And the truth was, I had all of it. And I was just getting started. When I sent Ryan that message, "I know more than you think," I knew exactly what I was doing. It wasn't just a text. It was a match thrown into a pile of dry wood. And just as I expected, the fire began instantly. Within minutes he called me 3 times. Within an hour he texted me non-stop. Within 2 hours he arrived outside my apartment, knocking like a desperate man who had just realized his life was slipping out of his hands. I watched him through the peephole. He looked nervous, breathing heavily, checking over his shoulder like he was being hunted. And in a way he was. Hunted by the truth. Hunted by me. I didn't open the door. I didn't respond to his calls. I let him drown in uncertainty. Finally, after almost 20 minutes he left. His shoulders were tight, his walk fast, his head low. He was scared. And he should be. That night I slept for the first time in weeks. The next morning I walked into work with confidence, not fake confidence this time but real strength. Everyone looked at me differently. Some still avoided me. Some whispered. But I didn't care. They were temporary shadows. Ryan was the real storm and I was about to end him. At 11 a.m. sharp, Ryan messaged me again. "Emma, we need to talk. Please. I think there's been a misunderstanding." I smiled to myself. A misunderstanding? He really thought he could spin this? Manipulate me again? Not this time. I typed back, "Not now. I'm busy." I could practically feel his panic through the screen. And that panic. It was only going to grow. Later that afternoon, I walked past him in the office hallway. His eyes locked onto me instantly. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept. Good. He stepped toward me. "Emma, can we talk?" he asked, his voice tight. I turned slowly, looked straight into his eyes and said calmly, "Ryan, I'll talk to you, but only when I feel ready." His jaw clenched, but he forced a smile. Okay, sure. Just let me know. I nodded and walked away. I could feel his eyes burning into my back. He hated not being in control. He hated the uncertainty. And I loved watching him crumble. Over the next few days I continued the same strategy. Cold but not hostile. Distant but still polite. I wasn't letting him know whether I planned to expose him, whether I forgave him, whether I even cared. That confusion ate him alive. Every time he saw me talking to someone, his eyes followed. Every time I smiled at a coworker, he stiffened. Every time I opened my laptop, he panicked, thinking I might be gathering more evidence. Good. Let him suffer. Let him feel what I felt. The anxiety. The fear of losing everything. The constant feeling of being watched. That was his world now. But slowly I needed to move to the next phase. The part where I turned everyone against him the way he tried to turn them against me. And the best part? I didn't even need to lie. The truth was powerful enough. The first person I approached was Mia, my coworker, and someone who had always been kind to me even when others weren't. She noticed the change in me and gently asked, "Emma, are you okay?" I looked at her with tired eyes. "I will be," I said softly. "But I need to tell you something." I told her everything. The rumors, the sabotage, the strategy file, the obsession. I showed her screenshots, recordings, dates, evidence. She didn't blink once. Her face slowly shifted from concern to shock to pure anger. "Emma, this is evil," she whispered. "He did all this to you." I nodded. "And he's still pretending to be innocent." Mia looked like she wanted to confront him right then and there, but I gently grabbed her arm. "Not yet," I whispered. "Let him feel safe a little longer." She nodded slowly, realizing this wasn't just about justice. This was about psychological revenge. I didn't tell everyone at once. No. That would be predictable. Instead, I told one person a day. Someone who mattered. Someone whose words would spread naturally. By the end of the week, half the office knew the truth, without me ever raising my voice or making a scene. People stopped trusting him. They stopped smiling at him. They stopped including him in group conversations. And every time someone walked past him without saying hello, I saw a flicker of fear in his eyes. That fear was my victory. On Friday afternoon, my boss called me into his office. I expected this moment. I was ready. He looked conflicted, almost guilty. "Emma," he said softly, "I've heard some things. People came to me with concerns about Ryan." I met his gaze calmly. "I have evidence," I said. "All of it." I placed a folder on his desk with everything organized. Dates. Screenshots. Messages. Voice recordings. Even his strategy plan. My boss read silently for several minutes. His face darkened with every page. Finally, he looked up at me. "Emma, I don't even have words." I trusted him, I whispered. "I know," he said. And he abused that trust. His next words were exactly what I wanted to hear. "Emma, I'm opening an official investigation against Ryan." I nodded, but inside my heart was pounding, not with fear but with satisfaction. My plan was working. The truth was spreading. And Ryan had no idea how close he was to destruction. Later that day, as everyone was leaving, he cornered me in the parking lot. Not aggressively, just desperately. "Emma, we need to talk," he said, his voice trembling. I looked at him coldly. "What do you want?" "I feel like you're mad about something," he said, giving a shaky laugh. "If I've done anything, don't," I snapped. "Don't pretend." His face dropped. I don't know what you think you know." "I know everything," I said. His throat tightened. "Everything? Everything," I repeated. He swallowed hard. "Emma, please, if you go to HR or the boss," I already did. He froze. His eyes widened in pure fear. That was the moment I had been waiting for. The exact second his confidence cracked. He looked like the ground had just disappeared beneath him. Like his world had collapsed. Like he finally understood what it felt like to lose control. You reported me," he whispered. "Why would you do that?" I stepped closer and whispered, "Because you tried to destroy me." Now it's your turn to fall. He stared at me, shaking slightly, his breathing uneven. His voice came out in a broken whisper. Emma, please. But I walked away. I didn't look back. Because this time, he was the one left standing alone. This time, he was the one feeling powerless. And this time, he was the one drowning in fear. And I wasn't done yet. Not even close. After that day in the parking lot, Ryan became almost unrecognizable. The confidence he once carried like armor had vanished. Every glance I gave him at work, he flinched. Every conversation I had with someone in the office, he froze, as if expecting me to strike at any moment. And in a way I was. Not physically, but psychologically. His mind was my battlefield, his fear my weapon. I continued my plan carefully. I didn't just want him to be scared, I wanted him to feel the same helplessness I felt the night I discovered his plan. So I orchestrated subtle traps. I left certain emails accidentally open so he'd see them from across the office. I smiled at coworkers at just the right moment, letting him catch my expression and wonder if I had said something behind his back. Every little action was deliberate. Every movement was calculated. And it worked. His paranoia grew. Ryan started checking his phone constantly, refreshing emails, rereading chats, even pacing around his apartment like a trapped animal. Meanwhile, I made sure everyone around me had a clear picture of the truth. By this time, the evidence I had shown my boss and a few trusted coworkers had spread naturally. People no longer whispered behind my back, they whispered about him. He tried to defend himself, of course. A few times he came to my desk, pretending calm. Emma, we can work this out. Let's talk privately, he said, forcing a smile. I looked at him with icy eyes. We've already talked, Ryan. The only thing left is consequences. Each word seemed to shatter him a little more. He couldn't manipulate me anymore. He couldn't pretend. He was exposed. And the longer I waited, the more mistakes he made. One day, he sent an anonymous email to HR pretending to be concerned about me. But he forgot one tiny detail: he accidentally used the same device he had used to send sabotaging messages before. I had already anticipated this. I downloaded the metadata, showed it to HR, and watched his face when the evidence tied him directly to the sabotage. Panic. Shock. Desperation. Exactly what I wanted. I didn't have to say a word. HR handled the rest. Meetings, investigations, questions. Ryan tried to lie, tried to blame someone else. But the proof was overwhelming. And everywhere he looked, he saw my face, calm, unshaken, almost victorious. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't excessive. I simply played his own game against him. I mirrored his obsession, his meticulous planning, his psychological warfare. And now he was drowning in the same storm he had tried to create for me. The final day came quietly. I arrived at work, walked past him, and saw it in his eyes, the complete understanding that his empire of lies had fallen. There was no charm, no manipulation, no facade left. Just fear. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and watched from across the office as HR called him into a meeting. He glanced back at me once. His expression said it all: defeated, broken, ashamed. And I smiled softly, not to mock, but because justice had finally arrived. Hours later, he was suspended pending termination. Everyone around me watched the fallout. My coworkers whispered, pointed, shook their heads. And I could feel the relief inside me. I wasn't only safe, I had survived, thrived, and outsmarted the person who wanted to destroy me. Ryan never spoke to me again. Not after that day. Not even an apology and the truth. I didn't want one. He had made his choice. He had built a plan to ruin me. And I had built one to stop him. His betrayal was monumental, his destruction inevitable. And I had experienced something powerful, not just revenge but empowerment. I had turned fear into strategy, despair into action, and betrayal into triumph. Sitting at my desk that evening, I reflected on everything that had happened over the past few weeks. From the night I discovered his secret file to the moment HR walked him out of the office, I realized something important. Revenge isn't just about making someone suffer. It's about reclaiming yourself. Taking back the power they tried to steal. And most importantly, about surviving with your dignity intact. I had done all that. And more. Because Ryan's secret plan had backfired the moment I exposed him. And that was a lesson I would never forget. I had won. Not by being cruel or hateful, but by being smarter, calm, calculated. Watching him squirm, watching his carefully built life crumble, was the final proof that trust can be broken, plans can fail, and justice, even if delayed, can be achieved. That night, I left the office late, looking up at the stars. The city was quiet, the streets empty, and I felt peace like I hadn't in weeks. Ryan's storm had ended. My life, though shaken, was finally mine again. I had survived betrayal. I had survived manipulation. And I had survived the person I once loved and trusted the most. But even as I walked home, I knew this story wasn't just about revenge. It was about learning, about strength, about standing up even when the world seems stacked against you. And in that moment I promised myself, never again would anyone control my life the way Ryan tried to. Never again. And that, more than anything else, was my real victory. Weeks passed after Ryan's suspension. The office slowly returned to normal, though the memory of his betrayal lingered like a shadow in the corners. People still whispered, eyes darting in my direction, not with suspicion but with awe. They had witnessed a story unfold, one that seemed almost cinematic in its intensity. I, Emma, had survived it all. I realized that surviving betrayal wasn't just about exposing lies or winning a battle. It was about understanding people, seeing their weaknesses, anticipating their moves, and never underestimating your own strength. Ryan had underestimated me. He thought I would crumble. He thought fear would make me compliant. He thought I'd stay silent. And that mistake had been his undoing. I remember the first time I walked past him after the suspension. He was carrying his box of things out of the office, head down, face pale. Not a single word. Not even a glance. I could feel the weight of years of friendship, trust, and betrayal in that silent moment. He had lost more than a job. He had lost the person who once cared for him, who once laughed with him, and who once trusted him implicitly. And it was entirely his fault. But I didn't gloat. Not aloud. I didn't need to. His expression said everything. I had done my part. The rest, the humiliation, the consequences, was all on him. After that, I focused on rebuilding my life. I threw myself into work, relationships, and personal goals. Every step I took reminded me that I was more than just a victim. I was resilient. I was smart. I was unstoppable. And as I rebuilt, people around me, co-workers, friends, everyone, noticed. They respected me not because I fought someone else, but because I fought for myself. And that, brother, was the ultimate revenge. Seeing Ryan's plan crumble was satisfying, but seeing myself rise above it, that was power. That was liberation. I often replay that moment in my mind, the exact instant I saw the file on his laptop, his carefully laid plans spilling out before me. My chest had tightened, my hands had shaken, my mind had raced. But I acted. Calmly. Strategically. Purposefully. And that decision changed everything. It reminded me that betrayal, though painful, can be transformed into opportunity. That moment had taught me to trust my instincts, analyze situations, observe carefully, and take action when needed. Ryan's arrogance had been his greatest mistake. He believed his intelligence, his charm, his manipulations were invincible. But he forgot one thing. I knew him. I knew his weaknesses. I knew his obsessions. And most importantly, I knew myself. That knowledge was stronger than any plan he could create. I don't tell this story to boast or to glorify revenge. I tell it because it's a warning, yes, but also a lesson. Trust wisely. Observe keenly. Protect yourself. And never ever let someone else's deception dictate your life. Life is unpredictable. People are unpredictable. But your mind, your decisions, your strength, those are yours to wield. And when someone tries to destroy you, remember, you have the power to flip the script. You have the power to reclaim control. You have the power to turn betrayal into triumph. I know now that my best friend's secret plan backfired the moment I exposed him. But more importantly, my own plan succeeded the moment I decided I would not be a victim. That day, I realized revenge isn't about cruelty. It's about strategy. It's about patience. It's about understanding your opponent while never losing sight of yourself. It's about reclaiming the life and trust that was nearly stolen from you. So yes, Ryan's downfall was dramatic, and yes, I felt satisfaction. But the real victory? It was the growth. The strength. The knowledge that no matter how cunning, how manipulative, or how vicious someone else might be, you have the power to rise, adapt, and overcome. And if you're listening to my story right now, maybe you've experienced betrayal too. Maybe someone you trusted has tried to ruin your life. Like Ryan tried to ruin mine. But hear me clearly, you can survive it. You can outsmart them. You can rise above the chaos and reclaim your peace. And when you do, trust me, that victory tastes sweeter than revenge ever could. I'm Emma, and this is my story. My best friend's secret plan backfired the moment I exposed him, and it changed my life forever. If you want to hear more stories like mine, stories of betrayal, revenge, justice, and empowerment, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Because every story has a lesson, every victory has a strategy, and every survivor has a tale to tell. And this was mine.